JuJu Densetsu doesn't feel like a game from 1991. It's practically a throwback to the classic days of the Famicom. A lot of the style and techniques that you see here wouldn't be out of place in a game from 1987 or 88. It's also an arcade port, and at this point, those are getting pretty rare. The arcade version of JuJu Densetsu was about 2 years old at this point, and the Famicom version is surprisingly close to it. The story of JuJu Densetsu is that JuJu was a guy, his girl was kidnapped by an evil wizard, and the wizard turned him into a monkey. Around this time, there was a weirdly high number of wizards kidnapping girlfriends and turning the boyfriend into something that could defeat him. JuJu Densetsu is a run-and-gun. There's a bit of platforming, but really you're just moving through the stages and killing everything as you go. Being turned into a monkey let JuJu spit fireballs from his mouth, which you do by pressing B, and you can shoot those fireballs upward or at an angle up. If JuJu's on a slope and crouches, he'll spit fireballs at an angle down. Of course the A button jumps, but you can't shoot at an angle while you're jumping. There are a lot of weapon pickups that you'll find scattered around the stages. Getting one will turn your attack into something else for 30 seconds. You can pick up a 3-way fireball, useful for filling up the screen, a big fireball which does extra damage, or a wave shot that covers a wide area in front of you. Finally, there's Flamethrower Breath that gives you a continuous stream of fire. All three are good upgrades over your tiny spitball, so I wouldn't even worry about which one you're using. JuJu has one other way of dealing damage. He can bounce on enemies' heads. Well, some enemies' heads. Sometimes. It's not always clear what you can bounce on and what you can't, but it is useful for grabbing some power-ups. There are a few other power-ups in the game that aren't weapons. The trophy gives you a football helmet, and that makes you invincible for a short time. And collecting the rabbit will let you jump higher for a while. There's also some very rare 1-ups that you can collect. Some enemies will drop coins, and collecting 20 of those will grant you an extra life. You start out with 3 lives and 4 continues to complete the game, which makes collecting coins absolutely vital. JuJu doesn't have a health bar. When he gets hit by something, he's dead. Fortunately, the game is very generous with checkpoints, but that doesn't make it any less difficult. JuJu Densetsu really becomes one of those games where you have to memorize the stage layout. There are plenty of spots where enemies will spawn in a way that you'll run right into them if you're playing normally. And when you first encounter an enemy, you'll get surprised and killed by some behavior that you weren't anticipating. That said, the best thing in JuJu Densetsu is the level design. There's a lot of cute little tricks they have, like this fire-breathing platform that's operated by some monkeys on the first stage. The controls in JuJu Densetsu are dead on. It's snappy and responsive exactly how you'd want them to be. My only complaint here is that you can't stand still and fire at a diagonal. The bosses, on the other hand, are a little bit underwhelming. They're of the drop you in a black void and have you shoot at them for a while variety, and in most cases the best way to deal with them is to just fire rapidly. You're probably going to die a couple of times just figuring out how to deal with their pattern, but they only have 2 or 3 attacks, and so once you understand that behavior, you can blitz them by mashing that fire button as fast as you can. I found a mixed reception from Japanese players to JuJu Densetsu, some of them considering it a mediocre throwback, and others pointing to the quality of the action in the game. Everyone seemed to cite it as a difficult game, though. My take is that it's pretty good. Not an all-time classic like some people seem to think. It's just a really solid action game in a classic style. I don't really see it as wowing anybody, but it's definitely one that I could point to and go, yeah, that one's good actually. It's not a deep game. There aren't a whole lot of hidden secrets or options for you to pursue. The real challenge here is learning the levels. But I have a good time with it, and that's what really counts.